The estate wasn't a house. It was a physical manifestation of a broken mind. It was built of polished black concrete, towering glass panes, and reinforced iron that jutted out from a jagged granite cliff overlooking the turbulent Atlantic. It was modern, sleek, and utterly miserably isolated. Lightning flashed in the distance, illuminating the mist that clung to the structure like a shroud. Sloane sat in her idling black luxury SUV before the colossal iron security gates. She was an architectural restorer, a woman who repaired structures that had surrendered their souls. She was known for her sharpness and her structured navy blue blazers that functioned as armor. Sloane wasn't afraid of complex renovations, but the brief for this property, owned by the reclusive billionaire Killian, didn't mention renovation. It mentioned containment. A security professional, a beta named Marcus, met her at the gates. He didn't speak as he escorted Sloane inside the concrete and glass labyrinth. The interior of the structure was worse than the exterior. It was cold, cavernous, and illuminated by sophisticated, low-key lighting. In the heart of the structure, in what should have been a grand library, stood Killian. Killian wasn't sitting. He was vibrating with static tension. He was a man with short, dark hair, standing over 6 feet tall in a meticulously tailored black suit and a slightly textured black shirt. His posture was rigid, almost painful. His left side was heavily cast in shadow, hiding what the brief called the accident, but the right side was revealed in the dim light. His eyes, fixed intently off-camera as he studied a schematic, were a brilliant, glowing teal. Your Killian was a black-iced alpha, a rare wolf whose heart was a permanent blizzard. Killian finally looked up, his teal gaze finding hers. It wasn't a normal gaze, it was an assessment. It was a cold data stream from a processor that had been isolated for too long. He studied her, from her blunt white-blonde bob to the silver multi-tool that dangled from a utility belt at her waist. Sloane didn't move. She stood inside the cavernous library, clutching a sophisticated laser-scanning device, facing him. "I received the schematic, Mr. Killian," Sloane said, her voice even and calm. "But it only covers the containment protocols in the basement. I cannot restore the structural integrity of the upper floors if I am locked out of the core data." Killian moved, not with the grace of a wolf, but with the sudden, precise speed of a glitch. He was directly in front of her in a split second, at the static tension making her hair stand on end. His left side was no longer in shadow. The chemical accident, a botched silver gas attack 10 years ago, had left a faint, delicate spiderweb of scarring across his left jawline. The scars didn't detract from his intensity. They codified it. "Data is my vulnerability, Sloane Thorne," Killian whispered, his voice vibrating with static. "And vulnerability is the Gothic Glitch. That is why you are here. To patch the glitch. Do not ask for the code. Ask for the result." Against Marcus's protests, Killian personally led Sloane down into the core data center beneath the estate. This wasn't a standard computer room. It was a sophisticated, cavernous laboratory that throbbed with a cool, subterranean intelligence. Miles of glass and steel equipment glowed with an internal, shifting, teal-blue luminescence, replacing the warm candlelight from the floors above. The atmosphere was intellectual and physically tense. As Sloane moved through the complex, studying the schematics laid out on glowing glass consoles, she realized that this Gothic Glitch wasn't about software. It was about architecture designed to hold a volatile creature. "The upper floors are locked because they are structurally connected to the main primary containment sphere," Sloane murmured, tracing a circuit diagram. "You aren't just locking data, Mr. Killian. You are locking yourself in. And I cannot repair the integrity without access to the final master key." "The master key is a biometric signal," Killian said, stepping directly behind her. He stood too close, his static tension filling her field of awareness. "And the signal is volatile. A glitch in control creates a catastrophic surge. My wolf," he let out a low, grounding growl, "does not respect the blueprint, Sloane was deep in the schematic when Killian truly glitched. A sudden, massive electromagnetic surge blasted through the data center. The glass consoles shattered, and the sophisticated equipment went dark, plunging them into the cold, deep blue shadows. In the sudden darkness, Killian's control, 10 years in the making, simply collapsed. He fell to his knees, his muscles bulging as his tailored black suit fabric began to tear. Sloane didn't move. She stood inside the flickering, shadowy laboratory as the black-iced alpha underwent an agonizing, forced shift, driven by the data purge that had just failed. Brooding, dark, tweed-textured fur broadened across his back and shoulders, shredding the expensive Italian wool of his suit. His massive hands, broadening into paws, shredded the floor. He didn't speak. He looked forward, his golden wolf eyes visible over his shoulder, wide in internal conflict. His body was becoming a massive, logic-shattering beast, and his human mind was trapped inside, watching it happen. Sloane saw not a monster, but an architectural masterpiece being overwritten by a force that did not accept limitations. They were trapped in the core. The failure of the data surge had activated the ultimate containment protocol, a total lockdown. The laboratory was now a sealed concrete tomb. Sloane watched as the massive wolf, now fully broad with dark, textured fur, moved to center frame. The wolf stopped. It didn't attack her. Instead, it slowly paced over to center frame, directly opposite Sloane, and stopped. It lowered its logic-shattering head. The beast understood the architecture. The final master key required a biometric signal. The glitch that had almost killed him had also, 10 years later, become the only code the system would accept. Sloane reached out. This was the first intimate contact Sloane had attempted with the Alpha. She extended her hand, her leather utility glove removed. Her fingers were outstretched, just inches from touching the beast's massive, broad snout. It was a leap of professional faith. If the wolf was logic-shattering, then her touch was the grounding wire. The room grew quiet. Sloane felt the static tension increase, but it wasn't painful this time. It was warm. Her bare fingers finally made contact. The beast closed its golden eyes, the touch triggering the final system override. The lockdown failed, and the upper floors finally groaned as the structural containment seals broke. The real architect was here. Sloane didn't just fix the data glitch, she fixed the man. Marcus, seeing the successful override, immediately organized the beta security team to begin sorting and cleaning the broken glass apparatus. But Sloane didn't leave. She stood in the heart of the core, focusing her laser-scanning device on a fractured, intricate glass schematic panel that glowed with new internal light. Killian, having returned to human form, stood close behind her. He didn't speak, but his posture was relaxed, supportive. His massive hand, which had shredded the floor only hours ago, was now human again. He gently rested it on the panel near Sloane's shoulder, guiding her through the system-wide reset. The atmosphere was no longer cold. It was constructive and cooperatively intimate. The storm passed, and the estate on the cliffside lane was no longer a tomb. At dusk, the concrete library was bathed in the warm, golden-teal light that replaced the cold, low-key shadows. Sloane sat in a worn leather armchair, her signature-structured blazer relaxed. She had donned her reading glasses, a pair sitting on a silver chain similar to those worn in other high-stakes historical records, and was meticulously writing in a small, leather-bound notebook. She wasn't restoring old blueprints anymore. She was designing new ones. New protocols for the black-iced Alpha. Killian stood supportive behind her, leaning over her shoulder as he watched her work. His posture was open, calm. His massive human hand gently rested on her shoulder, a gesture that was now protective rather than predatory. They were no longer the glitch and the patch. They were the blueprint and the build. And some structures, like a good partnership and a repaired heart, only get stronger with time.